All right. We are having a second conversation about race with mixed people. I really enjoyed the first one. Just gonna wait for Joaquin to jump on. Thanks for your patience. Okay, Joaquin, where you at? There we are. Yeah. Let me see my volume. Good size, okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
we made it.
there it is.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I can, I
Wonderful.
can.
Made it. Oh my goodness.
Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for putting this together. Just like I said, being able to, create spaces for people to talk about things that are important for people to think about is just, needed. So I definitely respect what you're doing. It's
Amen.
definitely needed.
Yeah, no, I felt kind of called. I mean, this isn't like a podcast yet or anything, but even just the first one I did with my friend Ella Hughes uh, just felt good. I think for both of us, even if no one else got anything out of it, I think for us there was a little healing, or it was just nice to talk it out. So yeah. So this is Joaquin. I've never heard your last name spoken out loud. Looks like you're frozen a little bit. Come on, internet. Okay, internet gods, let me and Joaquin have this moment together. Okay, we'll pause for a second. Here we go. All right, maybe he's going to come back on. Let's see here. Okay, you're asking again. I'm going to accept you again. Let's make this work. Worst case, maybe we'll start again. Okay, Joaquin left. We were having some difficulties earlier. Can't tell. Thanks for your patience. I'm going to try to talk to my fellow artist, Joaquin. Um, and let's see. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to give him a minute here. Oh, here we go. One more time. One more time for the people.
All right, cool. We back. We back.
We're
Yeah.
back. We're back. Let me just jump into the to my intro before we get cut off again. How about that? Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I got a little write-up that I even said last time, and then I'll introduce you. Beforehand, I've never heard your last name spoken out loud. How do I say it?
So my last name, I pronounce it Tinh. That's how I pronounce it.
Ting.
And yeah, Tinh.
Din.
It's a Vietnamese last name, so it's especially like say how Vietnamese say it. Like Vietnamese, they use a lot of like the back of the throat. Like Saigon is different, like different parts of Vietnam. Like every area and region you go to, pronounce it differently. Just standard words, like come on, just like thank you in Vietnamese. So like words, they're just different. Um, so yeah, I just say that to say like I'm probably saying it wrong.
Oh, that's
But that's
funny.
how I say it. I say it thing. So I say
So
it.
even if I mess up, it may be correct in a different part of Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
All right,
Exactly.
all right. So,
Yeah.
so I'm James. I come from a mixed racial background. Um, and just to be serious for a second, it disturbs me how much beliefs in a group superiority is running and ruining this world. Can you feel that, Joaquin? I've witnessed it in white people, but also in Korean and Asian people. Of course, white supremacy as a system has been the main driver of harm worldwide, but if we are honest, it has infected everybody. So there we go. That's my little intro. And this is Joaquin Tin. He is an artist and community leader, a fellow mixed race person, and someone who I think represents the best of the Bay Area. Um,
Like,
he is a creator, or he is the creator of Active Artists. Is that true, right? So, and
that's
that's
right.
Activists.
That's
It's an
right.
it's an organization whose stated goal of empowering youth through mural making, um, I think is something that's beautiful and inspiring. I met him recently at an art gallery exhibition of some of his work. Um, oh, and that reminds me, a quick shout out to Ground Floor Event Space and Gallery, right?
Yeah.
Um, Alice George Studio and Patanisha Williams, without whom I wouldn't have been invited to that gallery and had the chance to meet you. I was blown away by Joaquin's perspectives on community service, as well as how passionately he spoke um, on the importance of deeply knowing yourself. Um, so, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Yeah.
You're spot on. Uh, and yeah, you happy to be here and really dive into what it means to be ourselves. Because like as individuals, we're all just trying to be our best self.
Hmm.
A big part of that is unapologetically being yourself. Because there's only one me and there's only one you. You and you aren't yourself, and you end up surrounding yourself with people that are around you for someone else. They're around you because of this idea or this different identity that you sort of made up for yourself. You know, that happens a lot when people lie to themselves. They're like, hey, they'll build up this sort of false identity of who I am.
And it's a
So I think,
lifelong process uncovering who the real you is.
yeah, and
Um,
we were able to identify, to peel back the layers of who we really are, we're able to not only be ourselves but also attract authenticity. You know,
yeah,
so I'm definitely very grateful to be here, and I'm excited to just shed light on on this topic and sort of express uh, my perspective as a mixed individual and see what questions you have for me
yeah,
in order to sort of peel back the layers, so to speak.
yeah. And on that, I have um, the questions that I think kind of get to the meat of that. Real quickly though, I was looking at your website, and before we get into like maybe deeper, heavier stuff, although I it doesn't need to get um, it doesn't have to. We'll see where this goes. But on your website for your creation of Active Artists, there was a quote, and it said, "Art is not recreation, but healing." And I was wondering if just real quickly you could speak on that.
Yeah, I grabbed that able to look at my website. Yeah. But yeah, so man, I think a lot of time. Can you hear me if I take one earphone out? Can you hear me still?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't tell if I need you a little closer to your screen a little bit. Now I
Yeah.
lost your voice, I think. Wait, I hear you.
That for the audio. You want me to move closer for the
Th-
audio or for the
No,
visual?
there we go. I got you.
Okay. So stay where I'm at. Well, let me just do this. Just stay one moment.
Yeah,
All right, cool. Yeah, I should sound better now.
yeah, there it
Um,
is. There it is.
so you can't beat these corded Apple earphones. All right. Yeah, so if you look at other countries, they treat art not as a commodity, not as um a privilege, but they look at it as a way to heal. They value it at the same level as healthcare. And this means that they're able to provide art to the community as a means to heal mental health and deal with stress, deal with depression, deal with anxiety, um, and also use it for spiritual development and personal development. But here in Western society, it's not viewed as that. And a huge part in my life is art, just in the sense that art saved me. If it wasn't for art, then I wouldn't be here today, you know. So just in that fact alone, art is something very powerful. And that's why I say art is not just it's not a commodity, but it is a way to heal, you
Mm.
know. So, um, and that's why I created Active Artists so we can provide art to the community, so that it can be free and accessible as it should be. You know?
And it's the Oakland area where you're from?
Yeah, born and raised in Oakland is where I'm from, and then as far as my programming goes, we focus on the Bay Area right now. Yeah, so we focus on the Bay right now. Yeah, so that's like Berkeley, Sacramento, Vallejo, you know, yeah, that's the Bay Area in
All
general,
right.
even though not all of those cities are the Bay Area. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
but we're all connected.
yeah,
It's it is all love in Northern California is the way I see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I spent a couple years living in Davis and Sacramento, and even though Sacramento's a little too hot, annoying.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't call them the Bay, but there's connections there.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so shout out to you as an artist. Shout out to the work you're doing in the community. Maybe we could get back to that as well. Um, we touched on it a little. Your last name is Vietnamese in origin. In terms of race,
Yeah.
Joaquin, how do you identify?
Identify as a mixed person of color. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm mixed, that's how I identify. And a lot of times, growing up, I would say like, hey, I feel like, you know, I feel like people ask me like, "Are you Mexican?" But I can't identify as purely being Mexican, and I don't feel completely Mexican as I don't have the same upbringing as someone who's a completely Mexican would, you know. So as I got older, I realized that, hey, I am mixed, and being mixed is its own ethnicity in its
Mm,
own right, you know. So I identify as being mixed, a mixed person of color. And I'm mixed with Mexican and Vietnamese and also white as well. Yeah.
there it is. There it is. Yeah, and my friend I spoke with last time had mentioned that how in America, sometimes there's, or she was saying specifically in America, but you touched on it just now, that being mixed kind of gives you, well, I know a different perspective, or maybe a perspective that's a little more with some distance, so that sometimes you can see more clearly. I'm not expressing this totally right, but you said a different ethnicity, and I just found that interesting. No, I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah,
much comment on it, but you have, like for me, I'm half Korean, half white, and we could get into that a little bit too, where more and more I am trying to go into the family tree and dive a little deeper into not just saying white, but going, wait a minute,
yeah,
I have I have German ancestors that came in
yeah,
the 1800s. I have a family tree that goes back to the Mayflower, right? Um,
yeah,
so so our trees go spread out and they come
right,
from a lot of different places. But in this racialized world, there are these boxes that we have to contend with. Um, so yeah, so I want to get off my soapbox a little bit, but yeah,
yeah,
you even talked about how um, perhaps your racial identity has evolved over time.
yeah.
Is that true? And where you're at right now,
Uh,
where do you see it going, if you can?
yeah, so okay, that's a good two-part question. And to answer that question, I would love to read something that I wrote down. Is that all right?
Yeah, please.
All right, cool. So before I do that, I want to show you this piece right here. You've seen this one already, but this one's called Unified Traditions, right? Boom.
I was thinking about that
Yeah.
while I was thinking about you, for real.
So this is Unified Traditions. And this is actually, yeah, this is a great way to answer your question. So a little bit about this piece.
Mm,
Growing up mixed, Mexican, white, or I should say German, right? And Vietnamese. Growing up mixed, white, German, and Vietnamese, I often felt shattered. I used to see being mixed as a curse, never feeling like I had a true identity. I wasn't enough Vietnamese to be fully Vietnamese or enough Mexican to be fully Mexican. Over time, that feeling of not being enough expanded. I questioned my worth entirely.
mm,
I often ask myself, why do I have to go through this? But now I understand that if I haven't gone through those struggles, I wouldn't have such a deep understanding of identity. I've come to see that being mixed doesn't mean that I am less. It means that I am more.
mm,
My different cultural backgrounds don't dilute each other, but they strengthen each other, forming a lineage as rich as a whole as any singular identity. The same idea applies to communities. Just because a community is culturally diverse doesn't mean any one culture is diminished. Instead, different cultures strengthen each other by sharing knowledge, traditions, and perspectives that others may not have. By learning from one another, communities don't lose their cultural identities, they enrich them.
mm,
Through this exchange, cultures evolve, intertwining toward a common goal to thrive, both as individuals and as a collective. This piece, Unified Traditions, visualizes what it looks like when different cultures come together. It feels like a big party with different foods, music, and dancing, celebrating all cultures and unified traditions. And this piece is called Unified Traditions. So yeah, I mean, just touching, elaborating on that. Um, Growing up, it really felt like, you know. these different cultures that I am, these different ethnicities that I am, it felt like they watered one another down.
Mm,
But when you look at such a beautiful melting pot, such as Oakland or New York, for example, um, you don't see that. You don't see these cultures weakening each other. In fact, you see the opposite. You see fusions. You see um, wonderful things come from it. You know, like banh mi. People love banh mi,
hmm.
and that comes from the French, the baguette, and the Vietnamese food, right? Um, so, you know, good things come from cultures intertwining, regardless of how they intertwine. Like for example, the French, yeah, that's because they were invading and doing some bad stuff with to Vietnam.
Yeah.
But still some good things came out of it to the point where cultures joining can birth a beautiful thing. So I think just growing up, I feel like, you know, these different cultures weaken each other just because I wasn't Mexican or Vietnamese enough. But as I got older, I realized that they, in fact, strengthen each other.
Mm, mm. Yeah, when you said watered down, that that hurts. That hurts if we feel that way, right? Not not connected enough to any of the parts, especially if we feel broken up inside. Like for me, uh, having being half half, it's like for me it was always feeling a little split, even if
Yeah.
I didn't have the language for that or I wasn't acknowledging that. Um, and it sounds like you were even bringing up it got a little emotional when you're talking about being so lost that it's affecting your mental health. It's affecting your, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but will to live, right? How do you fit in? Um, but but it's also beautiful when you get to a certain point where you're like, wait a minute, I'm not watered down. Um, I'm I don't know if these words will come out, but I'm part of a tapestry. And if I bring the different parts of me together,
Yeah.
you're a stronger thing. Not superior, because that's one of the things we're trying to get rid of in this world is the superiority complexes that are going on with different groups. But and that's part of the reason why I believe, like I mentioned this before, when I speak with mixed race people, rarely, if never, are they getting triggered by the subjects I'm bringing up or by me making a mistake on assumptions about certain parts of your background, right? So one thing I've loved with my last talk and with you is I don't think you and I can get offended, right?
Okay.
Like I feel like there are people, not to get too spicy, but maybe more specifically with white people that get really triggered, um, because I think sometimes they haven't done enough introspection on what being white means. So I'll leave it at that. You don't have to agree or whatnot.
Okay.
Um, I do have this question. What do you think the world identifies you as?
Um, yeah, yeah, that's a good question. And yeah, let me see. And also, I just do want to note that we did skip a question. The two-part question. Would
Oh,
you like
oh,
me to
oh.
answer the where do I see
Yeah,
myself? I'd like
yeah,
to
yeah.
answer that
Jump
one.
in, please. Help me.
Yeah, that's a good question too. Um, yeah, so and the question was, would you mind reiterating the question, please?
In terms of race, how do you identify?
Or the
Or
second part of that
what?
question,
Because I
right?
think you even just brought up some stuff like, has your racial identity evolved over time? And if so, how so?
I think it was where do you see your
Ah,
identity evolving towards?
mm.
Wasn't that what you said? Or
Yeah,
am I
yeah, yeah,
mistaken?
yeah. That's not even written down, but you
Oh
said,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, see, you got good questions. You don't need no notes. Um, yeah, man, that's a great question. So, yeah, that's the cool thing about you, you know, about me is that we're infinite, just like the universe. And just like my elder used to say, we put the U in universe, you know.
mm,
So yeah, man, like we're infinite, and that's the cool thing about it, like, is that this life, there's always more to explore and there's always more to learn about ourselves. And we get so deep, we get infinite, Um, we're not shallow because we thrive in the deep end, we swim in the deep end. So,
yeah,
with that being said, like I just see myself using my resources around me and using my time to learn about my history, you know. Yeah, like all sides of my history. I got a lot of history to touch up on, so because
yeah,
I'm mixed, so because we're mixed, so we got a lot of history to tap into. So what that looks like for me is just yeah, tapping into my ancestral history. I definitely want to learn more about my native ancestry, because my native ancestry is Yaqui, and that's so my Yaqui ancestry. We were the first natives to fight off the Spanish, and we were some warriors. You know, we are some warriors. So that's just a cool factor in itself, and like if we're able to tap into our history and learn about our history, it's very empowering. Just understanding what our family did to get us here today,
yeah,
and what are we going to do as individuals to continue that legacy? How are we going to honor it? How are we going to take that, what they did, and say, hey, let's make sure that it was worth it. Let's make sure that everything they did was worth it. And for me, that just looks like you said, learning our history and also making the most out of our lives, um, out of our lives, because when I pass away, there's of course going to be more to learn and more to do. And I will feel happy, with what I've done in my life. I'll feel content. I'll pass away with a smile on my face and a laugh with my last breath, you know,
yeah,
and knowing that I did all I could in this life to continue my family's legacy, while also understanding that there is more to be done. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Um, we continue to grow through our family and through the ones that we pass our knowledge on to. Who we share a common goal with, friends, family, everyone, people we meet just like this. So just like you and I. So, just being able to understand that like when we pass, there's more work to be done. It's just a beautiful thing, because we know that in our lives what we've done is all for not it's not all for naught, it's not in vain, and that the work is going to continue, and that we helped contribute towards something greater than ourselves. So yeah, just understanding that, like, it's just it's dope in itself,
yeah,
while also viewing that for me, the way that I'm going to continue to uh, go down this rabbit hole of identity is by understanding my history while applying it to empower myself and those around me to continue this common goal of liberation, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And I love how you started that. It was a question of how we take ourselves into the future. but within that, it almost goes straight into going deeper into the past.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
and
So
then when you mentioned feeling inspired by the warrior spirit in some of your ancestry, um, you're able to grab that power from them and upgrade yourself, if I'm saying that right. Quick
yeah,
story, because that sparked something in me. The more I did research into my Korean side, I had a great uncle who, in the 1930s LA Olympics, he was a marathon runner. So,
nice.
marathon runner from Korea in LA, something I'm super proud of. And side note, like just for the racial um, colonial aspect, at that time, Korea was being controlled by Japan. So here's my great uncle who's Korean. He had to run in that Olympics wearing a Japan sweater.
Damn.
Like he had to not represent Korea in that.
Yeah,
And I know that hurt him. But on the power side, on the taking things from the past and for self-improvement or something, um, whenever I'm running, there is a moment where if I get tired, I can't disrespect my great uncle. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
there's extra motivation knowing details like that that just I feel give me strength. I'm
that's
not a
right.
marathon runner
Yeah,
and I'm not going to be. I'm sorry, great uncle. And he doesn't need me to be, but that's just something that got sparked when you
yeah,
spoke about warrior
right. That's a
because I
great
feel that
example.
in you. I feel a warrior in you, and
Yeah,
and that sounds like the opposite of when you were lost in the past and
yeah.
not
That's
more
a
connected, right?
And that's a great example of what it's like when we're connected, right? We're able to tap into this knowledge. And what that looks like is when we apply it is like you said, like we're able to say like, hey, I'm running right now and just thinking about how, my great uncle was a marathon runner and in LA during a very controversial time for Koreans.
Hmm.
Like that's motivating to you. So like, yeah, and then you're honoring him by running a little bit harder to the grocery store or whatever you're, running towards, So
And
it's
just thinking
definitely,
about him,
yeah,
just
motivational. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I, if I could get there was a moment where you said you don't feel as connected or as Mexican
yeah.
as you could be. Do you believe, does the Mexican community embrace you? Have you had that
Uh,
chance to even know if they do?
yeah,
Is
that's
there
a great
rarely a
question.
connection?
Yeah, so when I go to like Spanish speaking countries, um, and I'm there, I think no matter how much they accept me, even if let's say they accept me like one of their own, I mean, they probably do. I probably am accepted because as far as being Mexican goes, or any race, really, to me, what's more important than knowing your people's language is knowing your people's history, right?
Mm, mm,
More importantly, knowing our story instead of his story, right? Because history is often told by the oppressor, by the victor. But when we can rewind that and say, hey, what's the real history? What's our story? Um, then that's when you're able to take that, like we said, that knowledge and that motivation from that knowledge and apply it towards our lives. It's the same thing. So being able to instead looking at what it looks like to be a person of any race as understanding and making a priority to understand the language. To me, it's more important to understand the history or
Mm,
our story. Um, so that's one point I'd like to make in regards to that question. And then the other thing was that, yeah, I mean, do I feel like I am accepted? Yeah, I feel accepted by the Mexican community. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have nothing but love for them. So there's no, for my people, so there's no reason for my people to have nothing but love for me.
yeah,
And same to go for any community. Um, and and that's the thing too. Like when I go to Mexican speaking countries and I'm like visiting, um, it's cool. Like I could feel sort of like a life that feels very familiar, kind of like,
mm,
yeah, very familiar. Um, even though I haven't really grown up in these countries, but it does feel very familiar, kind of like I'm tapping into some ancestral roots or some sort of like lineage that runs deep in my veins. And at the same time, I think no matter what, I'm always gonna be Oakland. And like there's just something also very it feels very familiar about being here in Oakland. And so I'm gonna take Oakland with me wherever I go. And also gonna take the history of my ancestors wherever I go as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
but yeah, to answer your question, I do feel accepted by my community. And as long as you have love, there's no reason for people not to have love for yourself, for you.
yeah, amen. I'm with it, and I'm glad you mentioned taking Oakland with you. I think we can both agree the Bay Area is special. We are blessed to be here. It is. You do get more. You do get to experience more different ethnicities and cultures and people from different countries here,
Yeah,
um, and I think there's some way where us being mixed and then being in a mixed place um, just gives us an easier base to go farther, quicker. I don't know if my words are coming out right, but maybe you feel me. Um,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I understand what you're trying to say. Like, just being able to be in a mixed space with other cultures. It's kind of like Oakland or kind of like New York, like they're all stronger together.
yeah,
So that's yeah, it's definitely true.
I used
Yeah,
to photograph a lot of weddings here in the Bay Area, and at one point, I realized I wish I could invite everybody to some of these different weddings. When you
yeah,
go to an Indian wedding, when you go to a Persian wedding, when you go to a Mexican wedding, when you've gone to a black wedding where there's jumping over the broom, something about the merging of love at a wedding and families really helps you just understand that worldwide there's this baseline of love, of family and community, and um, that's it. I just wanted to say I love that experience. I think I wish I could share some of these things with people, and that's why we're talking. Just to share some of what we know and what we've experienced.
definitely.
Yeah. Can I may I ask you another question that I wrote down?
Yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
what do you wish non-mixed people knew about race?
About race or about mixed people?
No, about race.
About race.
Yeah. Or either one. I like both those versions.
Yeah. Um. hmm, That's a good question. Well, do I wish people who aren't mixed um knew about people who are mixed? That we got some good food. We got more food options than y'all. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I don't
No,
know,
but
man.
but you're
You know,
right. You are right. Like, are we more open to eating every type of food anywhere? I think so. For
I
me,
mean,
that's
yeah, yeah. I mean, growing up as a mixed individual, there's not much I'd like to have people know. I'd more so want to connect to mixed people, because you know, I think the most the majority of people who get really involved and into the idea of being mixed are mixed people. I don't think people who are one race really have to, well, for one, have to think about it unless they're like having a kid with another individual who's outside of their racial group. Um, so I wouldn't really have anything to say, you know, to a person who's one race because they don't have to think about it. It's not for them to worry about or be concerned with unless they're having like a kid, like I said. So yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have anything to say, if it's someone who's like closed minded and just doesn't hang out with people outside of their group, I'd have something to say about that. Or but if they're just a normal person, like who already hangs out with everyone and is just open minded and is just like an average day to day person, and I wouldn't have anything to say to them. Yeah,
yeah. Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. But one thing that just got sparked in me, that may be off on a tangent a little bit, is how grateful I am for my daughter.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if it was the time I was growing up, but I I and who I was surrounded by, but I didn't actually think a lot about the Korean side of me when I was young. Um,
yeah,
and one thing I love about my daughter is from an early age, she really kind of embraced it. And more than me, she would say, I'm Korean and
yeah.
claim that. And
That's
it
what's up.
was it was through her where I'm like, damn, I'm half, she's only a quarter, but she's she's embracing it more than I am. And it really spurred me a little bit going, you know what? I
Yeah,
love that for her. And maybe I need some more of that too. So talking about how racial
yeah,
identity evolves over time, um, it's not just me doing it on my own, um, and it's not just older people teaching me.
yeah,
This is just my story of like my daughter brought something to me that is invaluable. Um, yeah, so that's what I
yeah.
want to say about that.
And she's young too. Like, it's never too early to start diving into yourself, and it's beautiful how having a child can teach you a lot about yourself, on a personal level, on a racial level, on an identity level.
Yeah.
Sometimes others are a reflection of who we are, and the work that's possible to be done within ourselves, and that's such a beautiful thing to be able to have these mirrors all around us. Yeah,
Joaquin, I respect you so much. I said this with my in my last talk. Just the amount of awareness you have around yourself, the art you're putting out, the depth of feeling you put into it. I just it inspires me. It makes me want to do better as an artist myself. So thank you. We
yes,
touched a little bit on the youth.
yeah.
Do you have any advice for younger mixed people who may be struggling with or starting to navigate their identities? And you mentioned a little bit of, we both mentioned about diving deeper into the past, but is there anything else you want to add?
Mm, yeah, good question. Yeah, the biggest thing, like if I could go back in time and give myself some advice, um, yeah, it's a good question. I would say the biggest thing would be to not be so hard on yourself.
Mm,
Like you don't need to have everything figured out, you know, like I was being really hard on myself, just yeah, and you know, I was holding on, you know, and holding on, you get dragged, you know. So I was getting dragged, you know, and yeah. So for one, don't be so damn hard on yourself,
hey, that's
and for two,
that's for
I was
everybody. That's for all time,
yeah,
right?
it's for everybody, and for two, I would say yeah, find a space where you're able to get away, you know, a way, an outlet for yourself, you know. For me, that was graffiti, you know. Um, and then I also had bad outlets too, like some outlets that I'm not so proud of, you know, um, and really caused some damage to myself and those around me, you know.
Mm,
And I would say to stay away from those, you know, like temp these things that are enjoyable and pleasurable and sort of, you know, beautiful. They seem beautiful on the outside, but really are destructive, you
mm,
know, um, are are things to stay away from. And a good way to stay away from negative things is by replacing them with something positive. So for me, that was art. Art was something that's very constant in my life. So I would say to, you know, create something, whether that be dance, music, visual art, you know, DJing, whatever that may be. And I would say to do that. And if you can't get it started on yourself, need some motivation, then come over to Active Artists and we'll support you in your journey. Um, and as far as Active Artists goes, we're a nonprofit. So with how people can support is by donating to Active Artists. And I'll put it in the chat right here, www.activeartists.com. And then that's Active Artists without a E.
yep.
It's like activism and art together. So yeah, donate to Active Artists. Spread the word. So if anyone knows any people that need to come, they can come and learn for free. You know,
Yep.
specifically with spray painting and murals. We'll get them out the streets and get them into some painting. You know,
Joaquin,
yeah,
you talk the talk and you walk the walk for real. I know that maybe sound cheesy or whatnot, but um, God, I'm so
thank you.
I'm so
Yeah,
grateful for you sitting down and talking with me. Um, I, from the moment I met you at your gallery, listening to you, I've learned. Um, I love what you're doing for the youth with
yeah,
your with all that you do. So
yeah,
I think that was a great wrap up. I love that you got a little last plug in too, because that's what I wanted to bring up one last time. Do you
yeah.
have any last comments or questions that you want to throw out there?
So yeah, thank you for putting this together and pushing the mission of spreading awareness around identity, you know, because you don't know where you are going if you don't know where you come from. So I'm glad that we can make this happen. Um, and yeah, I would love to hop on a call with you like right after this so we can talk about what's next. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, James.
Joaquin, I'm so glad our lives have connected and talk to you soon, man.
All right,
All right, cool.
peace, yeah.